Welcome to this session. And let's just see. Tosin says hi, welcome back everyone. Tammy says good afternoon. Davida says hi Mark, hi there to you. And I hope everything's okay technically. You can hear me okay, see me okay. We're about to kick off. And we have a lot to cover in these 43 or 44 minutes. So I'm going to cover as much as I can in this presentation. We're going to be looking at how we can use ChatGPT to automate our accounting workflows and the agenda. So what are we going to cover in today's session? We'll look a little bit at quickly an introduction to ChatGPT, why you must use it, how to use it, how to get started, a bit about prompt engineering. And that's in the first half. So we've got a lot to cover. But in the second half, I want to get really practical. We're going to dive into ChatGPT and look at some practical use cases. I hope I have a chance to answer a few questions, but I am conscious that I probably have about an hour and a half's worth of material, and we have 45 minutes, and I want to give you lots of great stuff. So I'm going to give you as much as I possibly can. If I get a chance to answer some questions, great. I will do. And so I'm going to keep my introduction really brief. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Wickersham. I'm a chartered accountant from the UK, been in the profession since 1988, and I ran my own accounting firm for a number of years. And then for the last 20 years, I've been teaching mainly value pricing. I'm known for teaching value pricing. I have several books on it. I run the Value Pricing Academy. I work with hundreds of accounting firms around the world, mainly in the US and Canada, teaching them how to make more money, how to price more effectively. And I got into ChatGPT really early because one of the things that I'm obsessed with is automations, workflows, how we can get more stuff done for less effort. And so I became a big fan of ChatGPT, and so that's what we're going to look at today. If you do have questions, there is a Q&A box. I will do my best to answer a few later on. I know Samuel's asked a question, but let's dive in because I've got so much stuff that you're going to love the practical use cases. I also have some various links for you as well for various things. So I have a YouTube channel where I've been putting a lot of videos on there around ChatGPT. And the one that I think is my most popular one is 5 ways that ChatGPT can transform your accounting firm. So if you're enjoying today's session and you want some more stuff, then that's on my YouTube channel. I am just grabbing a link, and hopefully, if I've got the chat box right, there's a link to that in the chat box. The other thing that if you want to get some more information, it looks like there's a link on the screen as well, is I wrote an ebook called ChatGPT for Accountants and Bookkeepers. And again, I'm going to put the link to that in the chat box. So grab that link and grab your copy of that ebook. Okay, and so let's get into, well, first of all, what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is a large language model. A large language model is a form of AI, a very powerful form of AI. Large language models work on probabilities and predicting the next words in the sequence. ChatGPT was created by OpenAI, which was founded in 2015, and ChatGPT 3 was released to the public in November of 2022, and that's when the world went crazy suddenly with the development of AI, because once they released that in November 2022, within a matter of weeks, it became the fastest platform to hit 1 million users. Got Microsoft excited, and in January of 2023, last year, they invested crazy money. They are now the major shareholder in OpenAI. That caused a panic with Google. They released their Bard platform model. They then brought out more recently Gemini. We've seen Anthropic with Claude, which is actually a very good model, and many other large language models. We're focusing today on ChatGPT because, number one, it is by far the most popular. Number two, it has got some really interesting features that I love. Number three, it consistently outperforms all the rest on the tests. Although very recently, Claude's brand new model is doing very well as well. Is a close contender to ChatGPT. They are the top two. So how can you use ChatGPT? What's it for? All sorts of things. We can use it for so many things within our accounting firms. We can use it for ideation, brainstorming, if you like, coming up with ideas. We can use it for content creation, particularly useful in marketing, because one of the most powerful forms of marketing is content creation, content marketing, where that's creating blog posts, articles, social media posts, and ChatGPT is brilliant for that. It's great for workflows. And of course, we're going to look at that from a practical point of view soon. I'm going to share with you, I'm going to try and do 3 prompts. It's great for financial data analysis, analyzing financial data, Excel spreadsheets, CSV files, and so on. There's some powerful stuff that we can do there. We can use it for research. And then my favorite use case, and the one that I think is the most powerful for the accounting profession, is business advisory. It is so good at helping us deliver powerful business advisory services. So there's all sorts of things we could talk about. We are going to talk about workflows in today's practical examples. So many more things I could show you. I'm going to show you 3 powerful prompts. I've been creating prompts for accountants for over a year now, and I have a library of about 100 of them. We're going to look at 3. But let's next just talk about, for those of you who are brand new to ChatGPT, never used it before, and want to get started with it, let's just talk about some real basics about getting started. Just a few quick tips. Firstly, if you haven't got an account yet, open an account. It's free. The free version is extraordinary. I pay for it because I want the extra stuff, but the free stuff is extraordinary. Do make sure that if you open up an account for ChatGPT, particularly if you're using a smartphone, do make sure it's the official one by OpenAI. If you go onto for example, the Apple Store and type in ChatGPT, you'll see dozens of apps. There are lots of people trying to pretend it's ChatGPT, and all they're doing is ripping it off or using it in the background. So be careful. Just make sure that when you get ChatGPT, it is the official OpenAI. Then just learn how to use it. There's not a huge amount of functionality. Just play with the buttons, see what they do. I'll show you in a little while some of them. Then just try out some prompts. Have some fun. I always recommend start off with using it for personal use firstly. Just have some fun. I created a prompt a few days ago. I was listening to a song by my favorite artist. It's been my favorite artist since 1983. And I was thinking, what on earth are those lyrics about? So I grabbed the lyrics from a Google search, put them into ChatGPT, and I created a prompt to ask it to analyze the lyrics and explain it. It was fascinating. It was great fun. I use it for things like planning travel. So just have some fun with it, play with it. The more you use it, the more you'll get to understand its strengths, perhaps its limitations, and you'll become comfortable with it. Then start to identify practical use cases for your firm, because I think where people struggle is you can do anything with it pretty much, and that almost makes it harder to use because there's no guidance on how to use it in your firm. I'm going to give you 3 great ideas today to get you started. And then commit to using it most days. I use it every single day. I use it and it saves me hours and hours and hours of time. Every single thing I do, I go to ChatGPT first, and I will figure out how to create a prompt that will give me the results that I want faster. And then probably most importantly is commit to learning prompt engineering. What is prompt engineering? It is one of the most important skills that you can develop now in this new AI world. It simply means, how do we communicate with AI? That's prompt engineering. It's communicating with AI. And I would argue that communication is the #1 skill anyway. If you want to build a successful accounting firm, you've got to be able to communicate. Without communication, you can't lead a team of people. You'll have a poor culture. Without communication, you won't attract new people through marketing. Without communication in your sales, you won't attract the right clients and turn them into clients. Communication is important with so many things, and that includes communicating with large language models, with AI tools. So I'm fascinated by prompt engineering because I love words. I love communication. I've been teaching communication for years, how to communicate verbally, how to communicate in writing, and how to communicate now with AI. So you need to learn prompt engineering. In fact, you may have seen in the US last year, it was reported that some companies are willing to pay up to $375,000 for prompt engineers. So I teach prompt engineering. I have a course for accountants on prompt engineering, and I teach the different components of a great prompt. And I'm not going to go through this slide now, partly because we have a lack of time, partly because I want to make this really, really practical by going through some things you can start doing with ChatGPT straight away. But I will be pointing out as we go through some of the prompts, some of the ideas that are on this particular slide. The slides, of course, you can download. They're in the resources. Okay, one more thing before we dive into ChatGPT, and that is, if you want to get some free help from me, free resources, I have a number of free resources on value pricing, ChatGPT, and many more things. And what I recommend you do is just connect me on LinkedIn. Let me know that you saw me here, and I will then send you a response once you connect on LinkedIn with some links to free resources. I will try to do that as soon as I can, but just bear in mind that right now I live in Portugal, so it's now 26 minutes past 7 in the evening, and it's also my birthday today. It is my birthday, so I perhaps shouldn't be working, but I did this summit last time around. I loved it, and I wanted to do another session, so I might take a bit of time out tomorrow. We'll see. But at some point, I will, and thank you for all the happy birthday wishes I can see coming through. Thank you so much. I will try to respond to those LinkedIn requests and send you that sometime, definitely this week, as soon as I can. Okay. Hopefully I've helped you with the foundations there. I wish I could spend more time on the foundations, but I do know that when I've done sessions like this before, people tell me they love the practical side. They love the prompts. So let's do 3 practical examples. And the first one I'm going to do is how we can get ChatGPT to help us build a workflow. And let's start with a really important workflow, which is how do you onboard a new client? Hopefully you've got a client onboarding system, and hopefully it works and it's great, but let's also use ChatGPT because it might give us some suggestions on how we can improve it, how we can make it better. Now, whenever you do prompts, one of the core components of a prompt is to give it some context, some background information. And so if you're creating workflows, give it some background information about your firm first. The more ChatGPT understands you and your firm, it will create better workflows for you. As a minimum, at least tell it that you're a firm of accountants. Otherwise, it might give you workflows relevant to a joinery business, engineering business, or whatever. So I'm going to use for this first prompt an example. I went and grabbed the website of a random firm of accountants in the US. I don't know if you're here or not. I just went to the Google search, picked a random firm. So imagine this is my firm and I want to create an onboarding process. So I grabbed the link to this particular website. You would perhaps use your own. So let's move across to ChatGPT. And before we dive in, if you've never seen it before, you will have a sidebar that you can open up and close down, and you will find in your sidebar is a history of all of your chats. And if you have the paid for account, you can also build GPTs. Now that's for another day. That's really powerful stuff. Let me just close that down for a minute to the main screen. Top right is where you can set various things up, your settings. Mine says manage workspace because I have a Teams account. Our entire team uses ChatGPT. Over on the left, you can start a brand new chat. And as a general rule of thumb, you start a new chat whenever you want to start a new topic. But if you are, you would keep it within one chat if you're doing something and you're doing follow-up prompts. When you start a new chat, you also have a choice of different models, depending on whether you're paying for your account or not. Now, up until May, if you're on a free account, you could only use ChatGPT 3.5, which is their most basic model. But the great news is in May of this year, they launched their most powerful model, 4.0, the O standing for Omni. GPT-4 Omni was released in May, and they decided that as well as it being its most advanced model, they'd also make it available on the free account. So the great news is if you're on a free account still, you can do things that you couldn't do before May, which is extraordinary. Should you upgrade? I would always recommend upgrading, but start with a free account. Start with a free account. The main limitation with the free account is you'll get timed out after you've used it for so many times in a 3-hour window. If you start using it regularly and you get the message to say you've reached your limit, then you'll probably want to upgrade and get a plus account. And then you'll get much more usage of it. Anyway, I'm going to show you stuff using the 4 Omni, the 4.0 model. You will see when you first open a prompt, it gives you 4 suggested prompts. I can't see the point of this. This is for people who have no idea what to do. Click on one if you want and see what it does. But really, it's where it says message is where the magic happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a prompt that is designed to create an onboarding workflow for brand new clients. But before I run the prompt, I need to give it some context, some background information about my business. And I'm just playing the role of a Dallas company called Stephen Miller. I just picked their website. So I'm going to grab a prompt that I wrote a little while just before we started, and I'm going to do Control V to save you watching me type. It says, use your browsing capability to analyze this website and give me a very short overview of the business. And one of the things we can do with ChatGPT is it can go and search and read websites. Now, I did have a problem with this earlier. It wasn't doing it. It came up and said it can't access websites. So let me just see if it works. If it doesn't, I've got to work around. It should do. Searching the web, it says, and there's always a bit of a pause when it's searching the web because it's obviously going off and doing something. And oh, here we go. It's clearly read the website because it's giving me a short overview of the business I am playing today. And the only reason for doing that is just to give it some context so it knows about my business. Okay, let's do the real prompt then. So just bear with me a second while I copy and paste because it's a long prompt, and it's a long prompt because I want to illustrate some really important points. Let me just copy and paste this in first, and you will see this is a long prompt, a very long prompt. Does that mean you have to do long prompts? No. There are essentially 2 types of prompts. Sometimes you can do a really short prompt. Prompt engineering still helps to use some of the things we'll talk about, but sometimes a short prompt is perfectly fine. For example, give me 10 ideas of places to go and visit when I go on vacation to Paris next month, and it will give you 10 ideas. You can use a quick prompt. But the more important your task is, the more likely you'll want to refine the prompt, give it some specific guardrails, create some specificity so it gives you exactly what you're looking for. But secondly, I'm a big fan of saving time. I'm a big fan of creating template prompts, i.e. prompts that you can use over and over and over again, using prompts as part of your systems, as part of your workflows. So when you create prompts for your workflows, you'll want to make sure they're really good prompts because you're going to use them over and over again. So I write long prompts as part of the prompts I write for accounting firms. They are long prompts because I want to make sure they do something very specific and give a very good quality result. So going back to ChatGPT, if we look at this prompt, this is a prompt we're going to look at creating a workflow for an onboarding system. But I've put here, I want to systemize the process of system. Now, that in curly brackets is a variable. When I'm creating template prompts, variables are really powerful. And the way I create my prompts is I usually put it at the end or near the end. In this case, it's the second from the end. Here we go. I often have a section where I just call it variables. and system equals onboarding new clients. This means that you could run this prompt to create a system for you, a workflow for onboarding new clients, but then you could run exactly the same prompt again, and all you have to do is just change this variable to something else, some other workflow, and it'll run the prompt for you. Okay, so that's a variable. That's the first thing I want to just share with you in terms of the components of building great prompts. Let's go back to the start. So I want to systemize the process of system, in this case, onboarding a new client. The next bit says, this sentence says, you are a customer success manager skilled in creating standard operating procedures that give awesome customer service. This is giving ChatGPT a role to play. Its default role is a helpful assistant. But what we've learned in prompt engineering is that when we give a large language model a specific role to play, it gives a better answer, because it will give an answer that's more appropriate to what a customer success manager would give rather than a helpful assistant. If you ask it to analyze financial data and you specify it to act as a financial accountant, it will give you the sort of response you would expect from a financial accountant for data analysis rather than a helpful assistant. Okay, so that's the role, a really important part of prompts. Then we have the task, what we want it to do. Your task is to create a process for system. There's the variable again. You should follow these steps. And I've given it 2 steps. I've said step 1, I want you to create the SOP for onboarding new clients. Actually, what I should have done there, I should have done that as it doesn't matter. I'm going to do it on the fly, but I've just realized that should be a variable. It should say system. And can I change it now? Yeah. Okay. I need to make a note to myself to just change that prompt. So create the system for the SOP for system, onboarding new clients, using the SOP template. The SOP must be presented in logical steps. I'll explain template in a short while. We'll get to template. So I wanted to create me following a template, the system for, in this case, onboarding a new client. But I also wanted to do something else. I wanted to give me a list of out-of-the-box, blue sky thinking ideas for creating wow factors that will amaze the client and ways to use the onboarding system to win new business and increase revenue. Because I've asked it to play the role of a customer success manager. And what we want to do is with any client-facing workflow in our accounting firm, with all of our client-facing workflows, we want to create magic moments, the touch points. When there's a moment to interact with the client, whether it's an email, whether it's a telephone call, a meeting, the more we can do something to just amaze them, a wow factor, the more they're going to say, crikey, this firm's amazing. I love this. I love what they do. You need to go and talk to them. They do this. So let's improve the system as well as creating it. Let's create some wow factors. And then we have the variable. And then that's really the bulk of the prompt. It's actually not that long or scary. But then what it does, it then has an SOP template. Now, you probably change this for different types of systems, but when we're creating prompts, one of the most powerful parts of a prompt is giving it a template. When you give it a template, it gives it some guardrails to follow. You'll see some more examples of templates with some of the later prompts that we will do. So I've given it basically a template of how I want it to respond in this particular case. So let's now hit this button. Let's run this prompt. Let's see what it does. So here we go. It's off. You can see it works incredibly fast. It's extraordinary. This is why it saves so much time, and it's following my template for a firm of accountants, because we're putting that I put in that website earlier. It's doing an onboarding process as if it's for a firm of CPAs. So let's see, we've got onboarding system. We've got the objective. The purpose of this SOP is to ensure a seamless and efficient onboarding process for new clients. The responsibility for running it is the CSM, the customer success manager. We've got a couple of measures that we could use because KPIs are really important. We should try to have a measure for every workflow that we have, because without a measure, how do we know if the workflow is efficient, if it's working as well as it can do? You perhaps know this with workflows, but we should always measure our workflows so we can then improve them. And then it's created for me a table, because I asked it for a table, for the sign-up meeting first. So it's given me the steps down the first column. Preparation, it's given me a description, review the client's background information and previous correspondence. And then we've got some suggested documents like a client profile sheet, a meeting agenda. For the introduction, we've got a welcome email template, an introduction script. So we've got the step, we've got suggested steps, a description, and then some suggested documents. You might already have an onboarding system, I said that earlier, but this might, if nothing else, give you some ideas for some extra steps in the process, some things that perhaps you could add to it. And with all of these steps and with all of these documents, with carefully crafted prompts, you could get ChatGPT to create all of these subsystems, like the client profile sheet, the meeting agenda, the FAQ document, the Q&A script. So you can, with the follow-up process, you can build your entire system with ChatGPT. So that's the sign-up meeting. Then we have the follow-up process, and we've got, again, steps, descriptions, and so on. And then I asked it in step 2, I also want some out-of-the-box ideas, creating wow factors. I think I asked for 5 in the template. And so we've got personalized welcome gifts, we've got dedicated onboarding portal, we've got surprise check-ins, client feature stories, exclusive invitations, and we've also got using this process to win new clients. So you should definitely have built into your onboarding process a referral program. There's some reasons for that. I teach that in the Value Pricing Academy. Really important as part of your referral systems to have the one built into your onboarding. Also, we should perhaps have some case studies, some testimonials, cross-selling opportunities, onboarding success metrics. These are all great things. And what I love about ChatGPT is, unlike traditional search engines, is we can then do follow-up. Think of it as a conversation. So let's imagine that you quite like this idea of the surprise check-ins, but you're not sure you understand it. Well, one of the things we can do, this is a new feature, by the way, most people don't know about this, new feature in ChatGPT. If you highlight part of its response, it'll put 2 speech marks above it, which you hit the reply button. And what that does means you can do a prompt about that specific thing. And when you click that, it'll then put, I don't know if you can see it, but it's put that, it's copy and paste it there. So it knows that we now are asking it something about that. So we can now just simply say, tell me more and give me some specific action steps for that surprise check-ins. Hit return, and it knows we're talking about that because I've highlighted it, and it's going to give me some more information of things we can do to take advantage of that idea of surprise check-ins. Schedule surprise check-in calls with senior executives to show the client their importance. There's a whole bunch of ideas. Okay, that's the first prompt I wanted to show you. We have 15 minutes left. I've got 2 more, 2, possibly 3. I think 2 I'm going to try and do. That's the first one. Really, really powerful. There's so much we could drill down with that and do lots more stuff. But I want to give you 3 different examples, just to give you some variety as to what's possible within ChatGPT. And it really is, it's limitless. There are so many amazing things that we can do. So what we'll do next is let's look at a meeting email follow-ups sequence workflow. And this one is, again, a long prompt, but that's only because I want to illustrate something. So let's imagine you've got a workflow where something happens, a trigger, and it could be someone scheduling a meeting, but it could be all sorts of triggers. But let's imagine scheduling a meeting, and we then want to create a workflow of emails to send out over a period of time as a result of that trigger. So it could be scheduling a meeting, it could be a workflow if they download your ebook, and there are so many triggers that we could have. Let me just grab this prompt. Now, this one is extremely long, as you're about to see. Go to ChatGPT. And I hope I'm not speaking too fast. I'm just conscious I've got 45 minutes, and I want to just give as much value as I possibly can. So I hope you're getting some value. I hope that first prompt has given you some ideas. I want to make this valuable. I'm going to start a brand new. No, I'm going to keep. Let me think. Shall I do a new chat? No, we'll keep in the same chat. That's fine. Because within the context of this chat, ChatGPT knows that I'm a firm of accountants in Dallas. So it'll take that into account. Okay, here is the prompt. It's a long one, but don't be scared. Don't be scared, because there's a big chunk of it is an optional bit. I just want to illustrate a really important point with prompt engineering. So at the end, I've got some variables. In this case, I've got 4 variables, which means I could use this prompt for all sorts of things. This is a prompt for creating an email sequence. In this case, I want it to be a 3-day email sequence. I'm looking for 3 emails. But you could have a 5-day sequence, a 2-day sequence, whatever you want. I've got a 3-day one. And the trigger is scheduling a meeting. But your trigger could be when they download your ebook. The trigger could be when they open a specific email. There are so many things that you could decide is the trigger. In this case, it's for when they schedule a meeting. And the purpose of this is going to be hiring us, the firm, as their accountant. And the client name is Margaret. Okay, so they're the variables that I've put in this particular case. I want to message Margaret. She's scheduled a meeting with me. I'm hoping that she'll hire me to be the accountant, and I want to do a 3-day sequence. So what have we got? We have got here, first of all, the role. I talked about the role. In this case, you are a professional email marketing specialist with expertise in crafting follow-up email sequences to engage and convert prospective clients. And you can get it to change the role mid-chat. So this chat started with it as being a customer success manager. We're now telling it to be a professional email marketing specialist. Your task is to write, in this case, we've got a variable, a 3-day, number is 3-day. Your task is to write a 3-day follow-up email sequence for someone who has, trigger, scheduled a meeting to discuss us acting as their accountant. If you're a bookkeeper, just change that in the variable. Each email should focus on the specific benefit they'll get from, in the trigger is the meeting, in a professional style. For example, ways to save tax, reduce costs, free up time, or grow their business. So these are the sorts of things I'd want to put in those emails. If you're a bookkeeper, for example, and you don't do tax planning, you might put something else in your prompt. Mention that the firm helps ambitious business owners who want to grow their business. So you might want to mention your target ideal audience. Each email should include a call to action. For example, it could be to check the firm's Facebook group or visit their website. To complete the task, you must obey the rules. So I sometimes have a section on rules, because one of the things that you find with prompts, the longer the prompt is, the more specific you can be, the more guardrails, the more you can really narrow it down on exactly what you want it to do. The problem is, the longer the prompt becomes, the more likely ChatGPT will miss something important. And this is just the same. It's very similar to dealing with humans. Imagine that you ask your new hire, your junior, to go and make you a cup of coffee. And you say, please go make me a cup of coffee, and I want 2 sugars in it. They'll probably do it really well. But if you say, please go and make me a cup of coffee, I want 2 sugars, and while you're downstairs, can you go into the photocopying room and photocopy 5 copies of this? And while you're at it as well, could you go into reception and tell George to put a certain client through to me? And the junior will probably end up doing those 2 things, but might now forget the 2 sugars in the coffee. Okay, so when we're communicating to a human, we might have to remind them of something important. And just remember, please, it is 2 sugars, okay? Sometimes we have to remind people. It's just the same with ChatGPT. And so I have a section called rules to remind it of the key things. And very often they're things that are things I've spotted it's missed when I've tested it out a couple of times. And then it says your response must use the examples for writing style and format. I'm going to come on to examples. I've got just some important things. Oh, yes, and then we get to the examples. So I said templates are really important and powerful. Also, examples are. When you feed it examples, because large language models look for patterns, they predict what is the most likely word. When you give examples, and we found recently through research, we thought originally 3 was the optimal number, but we found more recently that 5 is the best number of examples. You don't have to give 5 examples, but they will help. So the reason why this is a really long prompt is I've given it an example email highlighting tax savings, where I've said, hi, because I like to start my emails with hi, Margaret. I hope you're doing well. I like to start with, a quick, say something nice. So there's an example of the sorts of emails with my writing style, how I sign off, how I structure them. I then have a second example for something else. I have a third example that I've just put into the prompt, because now whenever I'm using this to write email campaigns, it knows my writing style. It knows I sign off as best regards, Mark, or whatever you might well be. You do not have to have examples, but they're really, really powerful. Then I have my rules, then the variables. So let's have a look at this 3-day email sequence when somebody books a meeting. Let's see what it does when we click this button. So email 1, highlighting tax savings. Subject, excited for our meeting. Let's talk tax savings. Hi, Margaret. Hope you're doing well. I'm looking forward to our upcoming meeting to discuss how we can work together. As your accountant, one of my top priorities is to help you save on taxes by leveraging the latest tax regulations, etc., etc. We specialize in assisting ambitious business owners like yourself who are keen on growing their business. In the meantime, I invite you to join our Facebook group. Okay, there's email 1 we could use in the campaign. The next one might be on focusing on cost reduction. So maximize your profits by reducing costs. Hi, Margaret. I want to reach out and share another key benefit of working with us, cost reduction. By carefully analyzing your financials, we can identify areas where you can cut costs, etc., etc. And then email number 3, free up your time and focus on growing your business. I think they're 3 great emails. You might tweak them. It's given me some out-of-the-box ideas as well, which is interesting. Because I've got the same chat, sometimes it's like a really enthusiastic employee. Sometimes it does things you've not asked for. I asked for that in the previous workflow. It's obviously remembered that, and it's given me some out-of-the-box ideas to create wow factors as part of those emails. Now, they may be completely, I don't know why it's repeated those. Anyway, no harm there. If I'd have started a brand new chat, it wouldn't have done that. I have 6 minutes left. Wow, time is flying past. I could do some questions, but I think I've got overwhelmed by the chat. So I'm going to do one more chat, if that's okay. It is actually, it's a shorter one this time. But again, it's a really powerful, I will start this as a brand new chat. Okay, so what I'm going to do this time is, let's imagine that we've got some software that has built into the software various template emails that go out. So a lot of software these days that we get for accounting will have some templates built into it. And so I know, for example, I sometimes do some work with Ignition, and Ignition has template emails built into it for when you send out engagement letters. And I know from doing a recent webinar with Ignition that this is their template email that would go out with Ignition. And it says, please read through and sign the agreement we discussed together. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to working with you. Nothing wrong with that email. I'm not saying anything about Ignition's a great piece of software, but we could surely do better than that and make that a template email that comes out of Ignition that's more suited to our accounting firm and the way that we do emails. So this could be any email template that you find within software. So we put that at the bottom. That's like the variable, if you like. Okay, let's now look at the prompt. The prompt says you are a professional email writer. That's the role. Your task is to enhance an email from a professional firm of accountants. You could change that to bookkeepers, make it more friendly, conversational, and exciting for the client. Action steps: review the original email, that's the one below, and then rewrite it and make sure it's friendly, conversational, and exciting. I've got a few goals and constraints, a couple of outcome expectations, provide the enhanced email text, and include a clear subject line that sets a positive tone. And that would be the extent of that prompt, except for the fact I've put in here examples again, because when you give it some examples, it's going to follow the way you lay them out. In this case, I've just done one example. Let's see what it does. Let's see if we can improve on this fairly short, please read through and sign the agreement. If I click this, what's it going to do? Here we go. Excited to start our journey together. Hi, client. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to follow up on our recent discussion and share the agreement for your review. We've outlined all the exciting plans we talked about, and we can't wait to get started. Please take your time to read through the agreement and feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need any clarifications. Your understanding and comfort are our top priorities. We're really looking forward to working with you and achieving great things together. This is the beginning of an exciting journey, and we're thrilled to have you on board. I quite like that writing. It might not be your style, in which case change the example. But if you like that, I think that's a better email to build into, for example, Ignition, than this really short one. So this is a great template, a great prompt that you could use every time you want to go through software that you've got that sends out standard template emails. And most software allows you to amend those templates. So you could run this, get a better one, and put it in an edit and change the template. Right, we're almost out of time. I did say there's a lot of stuff to show you. I did want to give you as much value as I possibly could. So where can you go next? What can you grab? Make sure that you get all my free stuff. Go and check out my YouTube channel. I keep doing stuff on ChatGPT. We have, between myself and our head of marketing, Emily Cross, between us, we do live streams on the channel at least twice a month, usually on ChatGPT. So go and follow the YouTube channel, and also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll send you some links. If you want to go deeper on this, I have got a couple of courses on ChatGPT for accountants and bookkeepers. I think actually somewhere on the platform here is a link to my the course I recommend you start with. It's a 2-hour course with 80 pages of workbooks with prompts and stuff. And we kept the price super low at just $50 as a course that you can get started with. It's a great in-depth getting started with ChatGPT. And if you like that course, then the next course in the sequence is I have a 2.5-hour course where I go through prompt engineering in detail, and I walk you through all of the things on this particular slide that I showed you earlier. That's my prompt engineering course. And we have coming out very, very soon a whole bunch of in-depth use case courses where it'll be just like today, going after practical prompt after prompt. And we're going to be doing some on business advisory, some on analyzing financial data, email, how to answer client emails and save time. So many things I've got. I think I've about run out of time.
Hi, Mark. You have 2 minutes, but we have a couple of questions in the Q&A. Do you want to answer like maybe a couple of them, 2, 3?
Let me try and do as many as I can. How many minutes have I got? When do I have to finish, Tosin?
You have 2 minutes, actually.
I have 2 minutes. Right, here we go. Really quick. How do you organize your AI prompts? That's Ashley. We use Trello. We have Trello board for ChatGPT prompts, and we put them on the Trello board. Other people use Notion, is another tool for it. So Notion, Trello are 2 great ways to organize your library of prompts. What are your thoughts on security of information, Samuel? ChatGPT or OpenAI has got a pretty good record with security. I don't have any problems with the security, but obviously you've got to be aware of client confidentiality. So the one thing I would be careful with is, although they've confirmed they will not use anything you upload, like Excel spreadsheets, if you are analyzing financial data and it's got sensitive information, I would anonymize the financial spreadsheets, the Excel files, remove the client's name, make it anonymous. Financial data would be good practice. But generally, Samuel, I think that ChatGPT has got a pretty good record with security. And Claire asked a similar question, so I've covered that one. Danita asked about organizing prompts. I've covered that. Shannon says, how do you get ChatGPT 4.0? You get it with a free account automatically. And so when you click to do a brand new prompt, just then make sure that you click on the drop-down arrow that lets you choose whether you're using ChatGPT 4.0 or 3.5, because it might default to 3.5. So you might have to change it to 4.0, but it's there in the free account. I have, I think, time for perhaps one more. Where do we get accounting prompts from? Well, we have all sorts of information, courses and things. So we'll be doing courses on prompts. Also, when you join our VIP mailing list, every Monday we send out a newsletter. in that newsletter, we share the prompt of the week. So just get on our list, read the Monday newsletter every week. You will get, amongst other stuff, a prompt as my gift to you. Okay, I think I'm out of time, Tosin. I wish I could answer more, but connect on LinkedIn. Once we're connected, you can always ask me more questions via LinkedIn. Tosin, I'm done, if you want to.